You're listening to episode 945 of the Father Bill's podcast. Welcome back. This week's episode is entitled Joy Revealed, given on the 28th Sunday in Ordinary Time, 2024. This past week, the priests of the Archdiocese gathered in Newport for our annual Priest Convocation, a time to come together with our bishops to reflect, reconnect, and work on things that are better accomplished in a community. Each of us was asked to take a deeper look into our own lives as priests in light of the Archbishop's, what he's calling now a time for mission renewal. If you're curious about the specific questions pondered, I've shared them in my Friday video, which is on the website. You can check that out and go for that. But ultimately, it was a moment to ask ourselves, what do I need to change? In light of today's gospel, the question mirrors the encounter of the man who ran to Jesus and asked what he must do to inherit eternal life. As a presbyterate, again, that's the community of priests, the presbyterate, what we do need to do is realize is we need to surrender, give up, or offer something to God. What would that be? It was a call to recommit to being priests of our archdiocese, that is, priests for you, that you need us to be. And if we took these questions to heart, they should have shaken us to the core. Like many who contemplate Jesus' call, I've struggled with the same question that all of us ask, and especially our young people. What will I have to give up if I say yes to God? Deacon Brett spoke eloquently about this 2 weeks ago. During my time at Mount Angel Seminary, I wrestled with the idea of foregoing marriage and the blessings of family life. As Father Anthony shared last week about the fruits of marriage, I knew that choosing this path meant also leaving behind the gift of marital intimacy. So that would mean I'd be a celibate all my life. For young people, the struggle may manifest as what we now call FOMO, F-O-M-O, the fear of missing out. Right? And the very fact that it's a meme today means it's something serious that's on people's minds. We've just now categorized it as FOMO. Well, such fear can paralyze us. Someone may want to go to 2 parties, but if they happen to be at the same time but are a distance apart from each other, it will become nearly impossible. The desire to experience everything may be strong, but attempting to do so, in this case, might result in a half-hearted commitment to both groups of friends. And that's not being a good friend. Yet wisdom teaches us that every decision opens one door and likely closes another, or vice versa. Closing one door may open another one. See, we simply cannot always have it all, despite what our culture tells us and despite our FOMO. Those who try to do this themselves find themselves miserable, lonely, and sometimes just flat out unemployed because they can't make a decision. So here's the truth, and I can only speak of my journey. Yes, in seminary, as I was preparing, there were many sacrifices. During that time in seminary, I often reflected on today's gospel passage and its parallels in the other gospels. I could see myself as that rich young man. I could hear Jesus whispering to me, "Bill, there's still one thing you are lacking." For the young man, that was what? Wealth. His attachment to wealth. And I think many of us can relate to this. For me, it was a function of trust. Could I trust Jesus? But something happened that I didn't expect, but I did hope for. Over time, as I slowly let go of the things that kept me captive, something beautiful began to emerge. Joy. A joy that grew as I learned to serve without counting the cost. joy as I spent time with parishioners, visited the sick, and comforted the grieving. It was in those moments that I realized I was made for this life. This calling, this priestly ministry, this was something I am called to do. And when I finally committed, that is, when I got ordained, I was all in. And since then, I've been surprised by joy in the most unexpected places, like funerals, or like an Ash Wednesday Mass, or in moments of silent prayer, or walking with families as they live through tragedies. The fear of missing out, it's vanished. And as far as having family, I now see you as part of my spiritual family. I'm reminded every time you say, "Hey, Father," not that you need to call me Father, but when you say that, I have a connection to you in a special way as a spiritual father. And we journey on this life together. I don't look at my life and I wish I'd taken a different path. I might have pondered on that as a seminarian, but not anymore. I don't look at someone else's life and feel envy or regret. I've got it awesome. I don't say, "Dang, I wish she was with me instead of that bozo." No. I actually see other couples who are living out marriage in wonderful ways, and it convicts me all the more in joy of the priesthood. If they can live their life, there's so much similarity, I can do it too. I can commit like they have. So God continues to surprise me. In fact, as a priest, those fleeting desires are no longer dominating. Yes, I have my failures. I have my regrets sometimes, but not regrets in my decision to be a priest. And in fact, I hope that, in my struggles, that I'll always then be able to be given the grace to overcome them. And that is the case. It is through you that happens. Interacting with you in ministry, or with Christ directly, and specifically through the sacraments, both of which you, the community, and Christ lift me up and keep me on the right path. Before entering seminary, I often asked priests, "How can you live this life? I mean, really?" And their answer was always the same. "It's because of Jesus. He's the only reason." I go, yeah, but tell me the real reason. Come on. And they would say it again. And now, 24 years later, I can say they are right. It is the reason for the vocation. It is the reason that I freely choose a celibate life as a great gift in ministry. And that's a whole other homily, but that may be later. Through God's wisdom and grace, I have come to understand that true joy is found in service and sacrifice for you, for God's people. No one modeled this more perfectly than Jesus himself in his life, death, and resurrection. And I've seen it modeled in the countless priests whom I met through the years, and I hope you have as well. I think of Monsignor John Buxman, who comes to our 5:30 Mass. He was my pastor for a while when I was in high school. Or Father Kearns, who was his deacon at the same parish, and has continually followed me through my priestly journey ever since. You can tell him I said that. I'm spoiled and surprised by joy. So here's your homework. Take a moment this week and ask yourself, what is the one thing standing between me and a deeper relationship with Jesus? What is that one thing I am lacking? Then take a leap of faith and let it go. Surrender it. Whether it's an addiction, a fear, an obsession, a grudge, or a deep loss, whatever it is, place it at the feet of Jesus. You can do that mentally as you come to communion. And then be patient. Wait and watch as joy, like a hidden treasure, reveals itself to you in ways you never expected. Thank you again for listening to this episode of the Father Bales podcast. Well, this morning before Mass, I had the great joy to be able to watch SpaceX and its 5th test flight of the Heavy booster and the Starship launch out of Texas and SpaceX. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. And I don't know what else to say. I was just inspired. Look at the things that humanity can do. That just seems totally out of a whole science fiction novel to do something like catch an entire rocket coming back down the size of the heavy booster that they are using for the Starship. My goodness. If you have not seen it, please go on the internet. It'll be everywhere. Check it out. It's mind-blowing. It's the largest rocket ever built, and it's bigger than the Saturn V that sent us to the moon, and it came back. It came back and was caught in, they call it mechazilla, these little, they say little tweezers, but they're not small. They're the grappling scissors that come together, and it lands right in between them. And there's little holes on or pins on the rocket itself. It lands right on top of that. That's what it used to land on the chopsticks, they're actually calling it. And it's amazing. So if you haven't seen that, please see it. And just think, that's what humanity can do at this point. What is going to be in the future, and how much God has given us in the ability to use our minds for technology, using the gifts of science, which use the laws that God has created in nature. It's awesome. Anyhow, so I'm pretty stoked about that. Now, if you have any comments or questions about this homily, go ahead and go to my website, fatherbill.org, FRBILL.org, and there you can email me or look at my social media sites or other things. I have some photos on my website, some latest news, astronomy images, etc., and go from there. In the meantime, may God bless you, and have a great week. Bye-bye.